Although not as large and grandiose as some of the national parks out west, Northwest Ohio has some small gems of its own. Impressive old-growth woods, to metropolitan park districts, to grasslands, to Lake Erie wetlands. Much of it is used for outdoor recreation, and much of it is home to a diverse amount of habitat and wildlife. Obviously, our corner of the state has a rich tradition of agriculture and manufacturing that occupied a lot of our native land. But now, Mother Nature reclaims some of this land, allowing it to revert back to its natural state. And this reclamation is helped along by many of the folks maintaining these parks and preserves. Northwest Ohio has many beautiful parks and refuges. However, this program is only able to focus on a handful. The following are representative of some of the best our region has to offer. The park system near Lima can be described as a small treasure.
The Johnny Appleseed Metropolitan Park District is a comprehensive system of natural areas and preserves here in Allen County, and we serve the residents of Lima, Allen County area.
Perhaps the most impressive of the individual parks is Kendrick Woods, a few miles to the west of Lima.
Kendrick Woods is one of our nice natural areas. It's actually our largest natural area located in western Allen County. Mrs. Florence Kendrick, in honor of her late husband, decided to donate a sizable amount of money to the Johnny Appleseed Park District to purchase the largest remaining contiguous woodlot in Allen County. Kendrick Woods is a very wide area, a lot of different sources of habitats out there. We have wetland areas, wooded areas. We have some open areas that's been added to the park since the original purchase back in the mid-70s. Great diversity of wildlife as well, everything from the lowland, wetland type wildlife, birds, mammals, amphibians, and reptiles in the park. So it's a very diverse area, both habitat-wise and animal-wise.
One of the parks alongside Lima has a curious name that provides a clue to a humanitarian purpose.
McLean Teddy Bear Park is a small area here in Bath Township. The park was named actually prior to us having control of the park. It started out very small. A service club here in the Lima area had the park and named it in honor of one of their members that started the Teddy Bear Fund at the local hospitals here in Allen County. The Teddy Bear Fund was and continues to be a program by which small kids or young children that are admitted to the hospital, especially in an emergency situation, are provided with a teddy bear to calm them down.
The Johnny Appleseed Metropolitan Park District is home to many birds of prey species, such as the barred owl. Sue Fowler, a volunteer for the Park District, cares for raptors that are injured or are unable to live in the wild.
Oh, Johnny Appleseed has so much diversity in their habitat that you can find just about every single raptor that you'll find in Allen County at one time or another in the parks. So in any given park, depending on which park you're at, you'll find owls, hawks, and just about all of them. It just depends when you're out there. This is a barred owl, and it came from Allen County. It was orphaned as a juvenile bird and has been used for educational purposes. This bird, since it was orphaned, was hand-raised, which we refer to as imprinting, which makes this bird unable to survive in the wild. It didn't learn what it needs to know from the adult birds and has learned to associate people with food. So a bird like this, when it is re-released, will not survive.
One park is truly representative of the land 500 years ago. It was a part of the Great Black Swamp.
Gull Woods is a state nature preserve located just north of Archbold in Fulton County. The primary feature here is a mixed deciduous forest. We feature over 5 miles of walking trails. The main natural feature here is our big oak trees, which we don't see in Northwest Ohio. Some of the oak trees, bur oak, chinkapin oak, white oak, are estimated to be between 250 to 500 years old. And that is very uncommon in a forest setting, especially in Northwest Ohio. Some of the rare species that call Gall Woods home is, one of the tree species is rock elm, which Gall Woods is home to the largest rock elm in the state of Ohio. We also have a state-threatened orchid called Three Birds Orchid. That's a summertime blooming orchid and very rare in Ohio. The springtime here at Gall Woods is very noisy with our large frog populations. We have quite a few vernal pools. Those vernal pools serve as frog factories, so as you're walking the trail this time in the summer, you'll see lots of baby frogs and toads, such as American toads, wood frogs, chorus frogs, gray tree frogs.
The mosquitoes can be pretty bad. The driving force behind the preservation of the Gall Woods habitat was Peter Gall himself, a French immigrant who purchased the land in 1837.
And unlike most landowners of the day, he did not clear cut the land, he just cut what he needed out of the forest. So that preserved many of the large trees that we see today.
And as he settled here, he loved the big woods. And he had to walk to purchase this land for 80 acres for $100. He had to walk all the way to Wapakoneta or Lima to get the land deed. So he bought the deed and had to hike back. And can you imagine hiking through this woods for that amount of distance? And I think it was even a little wetter south of here.
Gall Woods is not immune to some of the problems affecting today's parks and refuges.
The emerald ash borer is the invasive insect that lays its eggs in the bark of ash trees, and the grubs do the damage and kill the tree. One of the signs to look for to see if your ash tree has been infested is the tree will be dying at the top. You may notice woodpecker activity from the woodpeckers getting into the bark and eating the grubs. And another sure sign is these epicormic sprouts that the tree puts off in response to being girdled at the top of the tree. Girdling a tree is when the flow of nutrients and water from the roots to the leaves and back and vice versa is cut off.
So only the lower part of the tree receives nourishment and produces leaves.
This is a green ash tree, and it is infested with emerald ash borer, and it will probably be dead within a year or two.
Once a railroad crossroads, the city of Findlay and Hancock County is home to the Hancock Park District. Oakwoods Nature Preserve, one of the park system's jewels, offers outdoor experiences right alongside Interstate 75 and the city.
Oakwoods is unique in northwestern Ohio as the center of our economic development as a railroad crossroads for this area of the heartland, because all the railroads going anywhere came through Findlay. And the Nature Preserve is part of those crossroads now, where we have the Discovery Center and the lake. Many of our trails are rail trails where the old railroad beds still exist and form walking trails throughout the preserve. So thanks to gifts people gave the preserve and other grants to make it possible over 20 years ago. We've got the biggest diversity of habitats here in Hancock County. We're very fortunate with the lake, the wetlands, the meadows, the prairies, the woodlands all around us. Of course, it's called Oakwoods because of the huge oak trees, and they're along Oren Run, a creek which goes to the Blanchard River and on up to Lake Erie.
The Hancock Park District has quite a history.
In its heyday, Oakwoods was a private park southwest of Findlay along the railroad. The quarry that gave the stone for the railroad beds became the best fishing hole around Findlay. So everyone would sneak off down on the railroad tracks to come to Shank's Quarry. And the Shank family was one who decided years ago to help preserve it and made it possible for us to acquire as a nature preserve. But it was picnic grounds. After church on Sunday, people would head out here. Other folks would come and ask permission to go hunting and fishing. And it was just a great walking place because of the nice condition of the woods. The Discovery Center here at Oakwoods is on the site of the railroad roundhouse, where all the engines were turned around and shot in different directions on the railroads. Of course, the larger railroads took over the main line spurs, so these lines pretty much disappeared in the early 1900s. So about a century ago, things changed drastically out here, and all we have left now are some of the remnants of the old buildings and the railroad beds.
In addition to a fine forest preserve, the Lenberg Memorial Woods has a change of pace.
Lenberg Memorial Woods is actually a public area that the Hancock Park District actually owns and manages, which is located west of Findlay off of US Route 224. The farm area there actually has got a variety of different types of habitats for both small animals and obviously a lot of white-tailed deer. A beautiful hiking trail is there with a lot of scenic views and things, and it's one of the best places actually in Hancock County to actually do wildflower monitoring during the spring season. One of the things that we pride ourselves in that particular park area is that we do first-person interpretation when we do our house openings and things at the McInnes farm. So you can actually go back and you can talk with Mrs. McInnes and Mr. McInnes, and it gives you an opportunity and a feel to understand what it was like for the early pioneers.
Do you know what this is?
No.
Pig splatter. Haven't you used pig splatter, or do you use the brandy paper?
Neither.
Neither. Oh.
And then put it on there with this hand, just run the needle right through. Now just pull it down, hold it with this hand, and pull it down. There you go.
That's easy.
Excellent. Excellent, you sure can.
This here cane walking stick here is too tall for a cane. That belongs to Mrs. Chamberlain from in the house. And she's used it so long that you can see she's polished the end off here and stuff with having her hand up here. So she must take a rest on that cane part of the time.
It's watermelon rind that has gone to a boil, and it has sat for a while, and we've drained the water, and next we will put the syrup on and hopefully put it in jars.
Something a little different is the Kilder Plains Wildlife Area, just south of Upper Sandusky in Wyandotte County. It features prairie grasslands and wetlands.
Kilder Plains is a 9,170 acre wildlife area, and it is owned and managed by the Division of Wildlife, and the primary purpose is to provide wildlife habitat and a place for people to fish, hunt, trap, and enjoy wildlife-associated recreation. These soils are very difficult to farm. They stay wet late in the spring and frost early, so it was very marginal farming, and in the late 1940s and early 50s, a lot of the farms were up for sale, and the Division of Wildlife realized it was a good opportunity to purchase large tracts of land in central Ohio to provide a place for people to enjoy public recreation. Kilder Plains is a grassland area, so there are a lot of grassland species that we have here. There's a lot of unique plants and animals. There's over 600 known plant species from the area. We have some state endangered snakes, some rare birds and butterflies. We have white-tailed deer, Canada geese, a lot of different waterfowl species. Songbirds is very popular for people in the wintertime. We get a large number of migrating raptors that spend the winter here on the grassland areas.
Despite the soil, much of the grasslands are lush.
This is an example of a native prairie we have on Kilder Plains Wildlife Area. This is what the first European settlers would have seen as they came out of the forest. This is an example of dense blazing star and Lespedezia. They're native plants here. We also have native grasses, and this area is home to the eastern Massasauga rattlesnake and the eastern plains garter snake, two state endangered reptiles that we have on this wildlife area.
The hunt for the elusive Massasauga rattlesnake begins.
This is one of the ways that we survey for eastern plains garter snakes and eastern Massasauga rattlesnakes. We put down pieces of tin, then the snakes find them and crawl under them for good habitat. But you never know what you're going to get when we flip it, so we need to be careful. We'll flip this one up, and oh, there's just a little meadow vole under this one. So one time we did this and we had a family of skunks underneath there. Luckily nobody got sprayed, but it's always exciting. It's like opening a present at Christmas. You never know what you're going to get. Oh. That one doesn't have anything under it today, but sometimes the snakes will get down in these cracks when it's dry like this, and you have to dig them out. But we'll check a few more and see if we have any better luck. No, I don't see anybody under that one either. Ready? No, don't see any under this one either. It's too dry under there, unfortunately. That's right, very elusive.
Wetlands are important to many species of wildlife, providing a home to a great many plants and animals.
In Ohio, we've lost over 90% of our wetlands, so wetlands are a critical habitat. Here in Kilder, we actively manage our wetlands to get the most benefit out of them. Some years we'll drain the water out to allow plants to germinate and produce seeds, and then we'll flood them to provide food to migrating waterfowl and shorebirds that feed in the mud flats and feed on the seeds that are produced, and manage the water levels to be productive throughout the year to benefit as many different wildlife species as possible.
Bowling Green is home to Bowling Green State University and offers outdoor recreation to many students and residents. It's very kid-friendly also.
The Winter Garden St. John's Nature Preserve is a 100-acre nature preserve located inside the city limits of Bowling Green. We have a variety of habitats that you can walk through or run through, a variety of trail loops with different sizes. You can go on different types of hikes. And we focus on two things here. One is education of the public, and the second one being restoration of the original habitats that were here historically in the Bowling Green area. The nature preserve is located on what would have historically been an oak savanna habitat, which we also had a lot of black swamp in the area as well. So with the variety of soils in the nature preserve and plants that are here, we're working to restore several different types of habitats, including oak savanna, the wet prairies, the sandy dry prairies. We have a wetland, and then we have some swamp woods habitats in various areas. We have a lot of flower diversity out in the meadow. That's been one of our focuses as far as restoration goes. We get a lot of beautiful butterflies through during the summer that people like to come and look for. We have a window on wildlife where you can sit and watch out a window where there is bird feeders and a stream that draws the wildlife in. Outside of the window on wildlife room, there is a bird blind, so that is open all the time. You can hide out back and watch the birds come in to feed and take baths and get drinks of water. One of my favorite things about the nature preserve is that it is such a nice, large nature preserve in a small town. So for the people who come here on a regular basis, it's a very important part of Bowling Green for them. I've really enjoyed watching children start to grow up while using the nature preserve, starting out in toddler programs and then attending our nature camps, and then becoming junior high students who then come out to volunteer to help take care of the preserve.
Another family-friendly place is Cricket Frog Cove, part of the Wood County Park District family.
It's a 280-acre parcel, about half and half. 50% of it is all woodland, and the other 50% is meadow and prairie area that's been developed over the years. In 2003, that was acquired, purchased from a gentleman that lived in southern Wood County. It was an area that has been used. It was farmed, it was used for pasturing horses and cattle, and today we've done some more development as far as establishing a native prairie, a native meadow there. We're going to be doing more planning and development as time goes on as well, but for the most part, that is going to be left in a very natural state. This was a very interesting way that we named this parcel. We left it up to the children, the school children in Wood County. We went into the schools, our naturalists went in and talked about this property, this parcel, this preserve, and we told the kids, okay, you know about the property now, we want you to come up with the name for us. Cricket Frog Cove came from one of the students in the Rossford schools. One of the predominant features of the property is what's called the Blanchard's cricket frog. It used to be a state-listed endangered species. Very small, about the size of your thumbnail, makes a lot of noise though, so the kids were very much attracted to that, and that's where the name came from, Cricket Frog Cove.
Well, we went to Cricket Frog Cove in, I suppose you'd say, is the late spring, with her brownie troop. It was a parent-daughter overnight stay there, and I had surprisingly a good time. What was available was a pond and a large area for us to set up our tents. And how many tents did we have that day?
We had about 5 tents.
About 5 tents, a place for a campfire and a picnic table, multiple picnic tables. The naturalists did a program and brought some cards that had the types of bugs that might exist in the pond.
The naturalists challenged the girls to find bugs in the water.
So they had a bug bingo, kind of a challenge that took them quite a while. They didn't find everything, but it was really surprising how many things there are in the water.
Along the shores of Lake Erie is situated the Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge, a haven for migratory birds. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, a federal agency within the Department of Interior, administers the reserve.
As most people know, birds migrate from their wintering grounds up to the northern regions for breeding. And along the way, these birds need places to stop and feed and rest on their migration travels. And Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge provides that habitat. We are primarily a migratory stopover refuge in that we try to provide high-quality habitat for migratory birds during this phase of their migration. But we also have a wide variety of wildlife at Ottawa. We have many white-tailed deer. People can see muskrats and raccoons, mink and other mammals associated with wetlands. We also have a wide variety of snakes and amphibians, lots of frogs, bullfrogs and green frogs and leopard frogs. So when people come out to the refuge, they are pretty much guaranteed to see some kind of wildlife here and a nice wide diversity. Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge is primarily a wetland refuge. Most of our acreage is made up of some type of wetland. Most of it is emergent wetland, shallow water areas with plants growing up through the water. We also have wooded areas. Most of them are forested wetland areas. We also have an estuary where the Crane Creek flows into Lake Erie, which provides habitat for fish from Lake Erie for spawning and nursery purposes. But primarily we are a wetland refuge. And wetlands are important in that they provide a tremendous amount of plant growth, plant material for food and for shelter for wildlife. Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge is not just for wildlife, it's also for people. The National Wildlife Refuge System has 6 primary outdoor activities that we encourage people to participate in when they come out to the refuge. Hunting and fishing certainly are our priority public uses. Wildlife photography, wildlife observation, and environmental education and interpretation are things that we want people to come out to the refuge to enjoy. Part of our mission is to protect and manage these areas for the benefit of the American people. So it's not just about wildlife, it's about people too.
There are many reasons why parks and refuges are important.
It depends on who you ask. A lot of people think about parks in terms of recreation and exercise. A lot of people think of parks as far as conservation of natural resources and the preservation of natural resources. So it all depends on who you ask, and there's no right or wrong answer.
Refuges like Ottawa are important to preserve the existing wetland areas of our country. Wetlands are valuable in that they provide a lot of benefit for the environment. Wetlands are like the kidneys of the earth. They filter water as it flows through the wetlands. Wetlands accumulate sediment. They sequester chemicals through the plant life. They provide biological material for wildlife as the water flows through wetlands.
Kilder Plains offers people a place to come and enjoy nature, enjoy wildlife recreation. It protects part of Ohio's native wildlife diversity, gives people a glimpse of what Ohio used to look like before it was settled. It's a very important wildlife habitat in the middle of an agricultural dominated landscape.
Individuals need a break from the heyday of everyday life, and the Metropolitan Park District supplies that need. It's a great relaxer to come out and take a walk, take a jog, or take a hike in a natural area setting.
I think refuges and national parks are important because they bring people out into areas where they may normally not have access. And in order for us as a society to have a relationship with the outdoors, to feel some kind of support for the outdoors, we need to experience it. If people don't come out to refuges or parks, they really don't have any idea what goes on in the real world, and they won't have any emotional ties to the outdoors.
They're important because of the future. If people don't come to the parks and realize the parks, and the kids stay on the video games, this isn't going to be a part of their training. And it's important that they realize what a woods, what a flower is worth.
While we can never fully reclaim our past, it's possible to prepare for the future by preserving and expanding what we have now. This very act of stewardship, conservation, and replenishing our essential natural resources says something about us as responsible citizens, that we're concerned about what we leave for our children and their children as well. It's part of what humanity is all about.